it's your Sam again, and I'm here with another video. Today I wanted to do something a little bit fun. It's been a while since I've done one of these videos. It's going to be a tag video. And this tag is the A to Z Bookish Hot or Not. And I was tagged by Lauren and Nicole. I'm going to have a link down to their channel below. Anyway, let's go ahead and get started. A is going to be for audiobooks. Yes, I love listening to audiobooks. One of my favorite audiobook series is The Sandman by Neil Gaiman. I just love his narration. Anything that you can listen to by Neil Gaiman is going to be superb. And The Sandman is no exception. Neil himself is the narrator, and there are different voice actors doing the different characters, and it is absolutely sublime. And I love the Sandman stories anyway. B is a word that I've never heard of before until this tag, but it's Bildungsroman. It means coming of age. I am kind of on the fence with this. There are some coming of age stories that I really like, but I like mostly coming into self stories more than coming into age stories. So if the coming of age stories is like a coming to self story, then yes, where the person realizes who they are, what they're capable of, and they attack the world therefore. C is for children's books. Back in the day when I was a child, yes, definitely. I ate up children's books like they were candy. But today, children's books bore me, and I don't have a reason, I don't have a child, in order to read them anymore. D is for digital. I find that I'm going to say no to this. I get easily distracted when it's a digital book. I get easily bored when I'm trying to read an ebook. And it's not that the book is boring in and of itself. It just doesn't feel right to me. It takes me forever to get through a digital book. I hate that about myself, and I'm going to endeavor to become better about reading digital books because I want to beta read a lot more books, and I want to be able to give reviews and everything for books that my fellow author tubers send me, which are digital downloads for the most part. So yeah, it's kind of like a meh thing, but hopefully it will become a yes thing. E is for experimental. I'm probably going to have to say no for this one as well. Not hot for me. There are very few exceptions to this rule, and honestly, I cannot think of them right now. I can't think of any of my favorite books that are experimental in any way. There have been a couple that I've read, I know, but the fact that they haven't stuck with me kind of tells you a lot, right? Right. F is for fantasy, and this is a yes. I write fantasy, therefore I read fantasy, therefore I love, live, and breathe fantasy. G is for graphic novel. Have you looked behind me? You know, there's manga, and then there's comic books over here on this side, on the bottom, and there's more comic books over here. Yeah. So graphic novel is a definite yes for me. I love the mixture of artwork and verbiage, or artwork and novelization kind of thing. I adore it. Now, there are some artists or graphic novels that are done experimentally in a way that I just can't get into very much. But if the story is good and the artwork is good, I'm all for it. H is for horror. This is another one that I'm kind of on the fence with, but it leans more towards no. I don't read as much horror as I want to, but it has to be very specific. It almost has to be like a suspense thriller type, or it has to capture me. It has to be really good. I don't like things like Saw or Hostel. I don't like reading those type of gory type horrors. But something like a supernatural horror or a suspense horror, I'm kind of for. Inspirational. No. There's only been a few inspirational stories that I like. Most of them have been short stories with something like chicken soup for the writer's soul or something like that. Something that I can relate to. Other inspirational stories, they just feel really cheesy and fake. Like, definitely fake to me kind of thing. There's no feeling from the writer to me in order for me to believe that this is really what the writer feels. So inspirational is a no for me. Journalism is a on the fence thing, leaning more towards yes, especially if it's about the environment and animals and things that I can learn. Science, for instance. Other things like news reports and the day in the life of the prince or the princess or whatever. No. Those don't interest me at all unless, again, they're about animals or the environment or something that I can learn that I'm interested in. K is for kitsch, and this is like a obsession or a hobby kind of thing. And no, that's not for me. The most that I read about is like how-to books or something, and those books have to be very short and full of images. L is for library. That's a definite yes. I need to go to the library more often, and hopefully I will here soon, but yes. M is for mystery. Not so much. I like a little bit of mystery in the stories that I write. Not necessarily like a whodunit, but a what's going to happen next in this particular thing, or how are they going to solve this puzzle kind of mystery that I can go for. But an all-out mystery that is just a mystery in a genre, it doesn't have anything else with it, no. In nonfiction, no, for the most part. That is not hot for me. Now, with that being said, I do like writing books. I like learning about writing. So stuff like Kickstarter for authors, Save the Cat Writes a Novel, yes. Those, yes. But for memoirs or something like that, those have never really captured my interest. Omnibus. I really wanted to say yes with this, but most omnibuses like a gathering of a story. So my comic books and manga, for instance, there are a lot of omnibuses with those because they gather episodes 1 through 10 into one book. For the most part, those are way too big for me to hold and read and enjoy. They hurt my wrists a lot and fairly quickly. Therefore, omnibuses with me are just going to be a no. P is for poetry. No. The only poetry that I have read in the past 20 years has been going back to Poe's poetry or maybe a little bit of Shakespeare. Not really anything else. It just doesn't resonate with me. Q is for quests, and this is a definite yes. If you have read any of I'm No Hero, which is up on Ream, you know that I like the quests, especially if they're in fantasy or sci-fi. Romance for R, yes, definitely, especially if it is mixed in with fantasy, if it's mixed in with sci-fi. Standalone romances I will do as long as the story is really good. As long as it has the tropes that I like, enemies to lovers. S is for science fiction, and me dappling it into the rest of this list, you know that it's a yes. I love me some sci-fi. As long as it's not too heavy-handed. Like, I don't want a dissertation on physics in my sci-fi, but dappling in some information about the physics of that world, yes, I will absolutely love. But when the whole chapter is dedicated to physics of the world. No. T is for translation. This is another depends for me. As you know, manga is a translation. So in that aspect, yes. As far as novels and books go, it has to be a fantasy. It has to be a sci-fi. It has to be something that interests me in order for me to pick it up to begin with. Therefore, some of the translations that are done for romance, it doesn't hit the same. Some of the romance translations that I've read anyway. And it might just be a different culture, how it works maybe. I'm not sure. Like, I can do Japanese romance, I can do Chinese romance, I can do Korean romance, because I watch those and read those all the time. There are some things about some of the, like the German or even Belgian or Italian romances that just don't hit very well. Like, it's a different comedy aspect to it in the rom-coms or something like that. So translation is a hit or miss with me. The next one is U, and it's Übermensch. This was a definite no for me about, I don't know, 10 years ago, I guess. But here lately, there have been some manga and anime and webtoons and things that have these overpowered or OP main characters, or even villains in some of them, and I kind of like them. Solo Leveling is one, God of High School is another. Those are some of the things, just two of the ones that I can think of off the top of my head. In novels, I haven't really seen it as much without there being a very huge coming to Jesus moment, so to speak. And that to me is kind of funny. It's a comedy in that aspect to me, and it does interest me. V is for Victorian, and that is a yes. I don't think I have to explain that really with some of my reading that you see on here and my book recs. W is for Western. I will pick up a Western every now and then to read just because of the equestrian aspect to it, or because of the indigenous peoples aspect to it, if it's done well. Now, if it's like Lone Ranger and Tonto kind of thing, and no, that's just that angers me still. But if it's a true telling of the indigenous peoples in the West, then yes, I like reading those. Between Earth and Sky is kind of a Western. I guess you can consider it a Western. Some Westerns I will take. There are also like a sci-fi Western kind of thing going on, like Firefly and Serenity, that I really, really enjoy. So if Western is tied into like a fantasy or sci-fi, I'm all for that. X is for X-rated, of course. I will pick up X-rated or erotica books every now and then just to read them, because they are a guilty pleasure of mine, and I write some of that stuff. So yes, X-rated. Y is for young adult, and here I'm again going to be on the fence. I will read young adult and I will enjoy young adult. Ash Princess is one of the first ones that come into mind, and I really love that. It's by Laura Sebastian, I do believe, and I really love that young adult story, the trilogy. Another one is Crow Rider. I did enjoy that one very much so, and that is another young adult story. So I'm finding that young adult has to be fantasy for me in order for me to like it. So yes, for young adult, as long as it's in the fantasy genre. Z is for Zeitgeist, and Zeitgeist means that it follows along the spirit of the time, or it's, I hate to say it like this, but it's following the market, so to speak, with books. And I am one of those people who will hear that something took off, and it's absolutely wonderful, and you should read it. And I'm one of those that will hold off on it. It took me 6 years to read The Hunger Games, even though I knew I would like it. I will wait until it gets kind of unpopular before I read it. Or I will wait until the hype is done or the series is done before I read it. Just to make sure that I can burn through it all in one go. Or I can hear if, don't even read the last book, just end the series with the second to last book and you'll be fine, kind of thing. So Zeitgeist is a no. So that is my A to Z bookish hot or not tag. I'm, again, not going to really tag anyone because I never do with these tag videos. So if you see this and you are interested in doing this tag, make sure that you go ahead and do it because I want to tag you. If you do, make sure to comment down below with your video so I can go ahead and give it a like and a watch. Thank you for watching as always. If you haven't subscribed yet, make sure to subscribe and hit that bell button so you can be notified whenever I upload videos or go live on Thursdays at 9 a.m. Eastern. As always, be kind to one another out there. Be kind to yourself. Keep writing, keep being creative, and I will see you next time.